Welcome back. You're watching Tea Time right here on Plus TV Africa, where we bring you the big stories. So on today's episode of the program, we have a studio guest. He's a comedian, and we were with him on Monday, and he was so hilarious, he left us in stitches. That said, he's also a writer, a photographer, a poet, an artist, an actor, motivational speaker, compere, and talk show host. He's been featured on CNN's African Voices in 2015, often referred to as the Godfather of comedy in Nigeria. And with 15 awards to his name, with 30 years experience in the business, with over 1.4 million followers on both Instagram and Twitter, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce the Grand Master, the Grand Maestro, the Grand Comedian of the Federal Republic, GCFR, AliBaba. Thank you very much for honoring us.
Sorry I was a bit late. I was caught up in traffic. I miscalculated. I thought, okay, now that the first wave is all those people that run to work from 6 to 8. I thought the first wave was over, and I ran into the second wave.
Oh. All right, let's start at the very beginning. Let's start with your name. Like, how did you come up, with the name? Because I know that's, it must have been coined at some point in time.
Yes, it was. My real names are Akbohyokobo, Akborobomemere, and that's the first half. And the thing is that when I started doing stand-up, it was not user-friendly.
Okay.
You understand? So I had, like Whoopi Goldberg had to get another name as well. There are quite a lot of other foreign actors that got other names. And in my case, it was that, okay, get a name, and so had to coin it out of my baptismal name, which is Alleluia.
Alleluia. Yeah.
Alleluia on his own has a story behind it because I was the first child.
Okay.
Don't forget that back in the 60s, 70s, the male child syndrome was very strong. I think up till now too.
Yeah, it is.
People feel, oh, if you don't have a male child, and so coming from the palace, my dad wanted a male child. And so the first was the girl, second, third, fourth, fifth. And all my sisters are girls. And so from when he got to the sixth one, my dad was like, okay, my mom should go. You are only breeding girls. Forgetting he was the one with the XY chromosomes. Anyway, my dad now sent my mom away, and within that time she had been pregnant. And so when she got home, she put to bed, and it was a boy.
Oh.
And so they sent a message to my dad in Abraka at the time. So he rode all the way to Warri, because then the means of transportation was bicycles. So he rode all the way to Warri, and he got there. When he saw me that I was a boy, he said, Alleluia. That was the first thing he said.
Oh, so that's...
So his name, Alleluia.
Yeah. Oh.
But through school, guys didn't call me Alleluia. They called me Praise the Lord. So I'll be the one saying Alleluia. They'll just say, Alleluia, And when I started doing stand-up, but gradually, some just shortened it. Like when your name is Christopher and they call you Chris. So Alleluia, they call me Ali.
Oh, I see.
So when I started doing stand-up, they just added Baba.
Okay.
And with time, we shortened it to Ali Baba.
Baba.
Right.
Oh, very interesting.
So since we're talking about your background, let's talk about your educational background. Okay. You studied religious studies
and
philosophy from the then Bender State University, now at Ekpoma Ambrose University. Was that intentional? Did you go for that course, or you just settled for what you got then?
Okay, back then my cutoff was 234. My dad said I'm a Nigerian truly. My JAM score was 234, and it couldn't get me into law in Ekpoma because at the time, between 1984 and 1988, the best law school in the whole of Nigeria was Ekpoma. And so my dad wanted me to go there. But the cutoff was very high because of the pressure on admitting students into law. And so he said, okay, read another course for now. After the first year, you move into law with direct entry. And so I took religious studies and philosophy. I just thought, okay, it would be a good, my dad thought that it would be a good place to get good grades and use those good grades to get direct entry into law. And so some of my electives were legal methods.
Okay.
My electives were jurisprudence and introduction to jurisprudence and all those courses. Legal methods and any of those courses.
Okay.
Like ethics, that lawyers took. It turns out that I could not change anymore because I discovered stand-up comedy.
Okay, all right, before we ask you our next question, we'll go on a quick break. When we return, our studio guest, stand-up comedian AliBaba, will be telling us more. Don't even think about going anywhere.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am.
If you no talk, dem go beat you.
Na 2,500 they pay.
And we're back. It's still tea time right here on Plus TV Africa, and we're swiftly moving on with our conversation with the godfather of comedy in Nigeria, AliBaba. So before the break, Ifera and I have asked you a question each. So Elsie,
Okay, it's her turn.
it's your turn.
And we're not gentlemen, ladies.
We should have, we should have.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. So I'm going to go into the entertainment industry and politics.
Okay.
Now, yesterday, Brian was in the news for saying if you're a musician and you leave it to go into politics, then you're a thief. So I want to ask you where you stand on that comment, and how do you think the people in the entertainment industry can come into politics and make a difference?
Okay, one thing is that I think Brian, right?
Yeah.
He was coming from the point of a faulty constitution. We have a constitution that enables people to get away with murder. And when you have that kind of constitution, anybody that jumps into the fray would have to behave like them. If you don't behave like them, you won't get anywhere. Somebody asked me once, why didn't I go into politics? And I told him, I said, I won't last 1 week. Because if I get into politics and we share 500K, when I come out, I'll say, we just shared 500K. What the problem would be is that you must accommodate a lot of wrongs if you get into politics. That's where Brian was coming from. It was the fact that you now have to be like them to survive. Well, we know several people who had gone in there with clean hands and came out stained. Because you either have to look away, ignore, or play a role. And so, let's take a simple case like the maze being taken out of the Senate's chambers. It means that all those guys that took that out should be charged for treason. But nobody's charged yet.
Sure.
Then in Port Harcourt, there was a case where somebody used the maze and hit somebody's head. It was amazing, Abi. But nobody was charged. There was nothing done. So, but they just figured we're all together. Then come to Lagos. The governor is doing well. And then they say, because he was not a party man, we don't want him again. It's not that he wasn't doing well. And they confessed that he was doing well, but he was not a party man. So it just tells you that politics is a game of straight bedfellows. And if you abandon a career like music, where you're entertaining people and go for a job that you do not now play a real role and you're not true to yourself, I think that's where Brian was coming from. That said, until some people get in there and change the constitution, we'll all be like this. All right? I would say, if you want to go into Nigerian politics now, be ready to play dirty, because the Nigerian politics is still a cash and carry system. It's mainly money-driven politics. And money-driven politics, you don't get truth. It's who pays the highest fee that gets it. So if a road is supposed to be constructed from Egbeda to Ejibo, it's now like, who do we give it to? Because I asked a politician one time, I won't mention his name because he's still in the circuit right now. I said, why is it that you don't give contracts to the deserving people? And he said, if you empower the opposition, when the time for election comes, you can't ask your people to come and fund your elections. So if Mr. A is the one that can do the contract perfectly, and Mr. B is the one that's in my party and can't do it as much as Mr. A, I won't give it to Mr. A. I'll still give it to Mr. B, because when the time for election comes, Mr. B has to support me. But if I give it to Mr. A, when the time for election comes, Mr. A will support his candidate against me, which is, you don't understand.
That's the definition of politics.
Yes. That's politics.
So do you feel like this not too young to run bill that was passed is just a charade?
Oh, a scam. Let me tell you, what they just did was, let them just keep quiet. Just let them just keep quiet, please. Give it to them, let them keep quiet, let's move on. That's what they did. Because how many youths would have 52 million naira to buy a presidential form? But that's on the side. Let's go to the financial dynamics. To become a governor in a non-oil producing state like Ekiti, you need about 15 billion.
Wow.
In a state that produces oil, you need about like 20, 25 billion. As long as they have oil, they have about 25 billion. And to become a senator, you need about like 10 in a non-oil producing state. If it's an oil producing state, you need about 15. As a House of Reps member, you need about like 6, 7 billion. As an assembly member, you need about like 2 or 3 billion. There are people who have run for governorship before in certain states. They've not recovered because it's like digging the ground and burying the money. Because the guys that take the money don't deliver, or they'll promise to deliver, and if they don't deliver, you can't do anything. We have a case of Sarah Jubrin, the first woman that ran for presidency. She had a structure, she had a campaign manager, she had all the structures that you have for a campaign. She got 1 vote. So what does that say? Even her campaign manager didn't vote for her. But she expended money. That's the problem that we have in our country right now. The money-driven politics has taken away the core of being a politician, which is to serve. So anybody that goes in there now has to play by their rules or forget it.
Okay, so let me take you to the Nigerian youth and social media.
Yep.
As far as I'm concerned, you're one of the celebrities that use their platforms for good change, because if you're following AliBaba on a daily basis, you will learn something. He comes up and gives you, of course, he does the plenty pictures, and then one post has the long caption, and you pick something. So looking at what happens on social media right now, do you think Nigerian youths are using the platform wisely?
No. On percentage, the people who use it for the purpose of social media are about like 12 to 15%. All right. The others, some are just there to show off. Another group is there to beg people for money. Yeah. Then others are just there to observe others. You know. So to answer your question correctly, a lot of people still don't know the value of social media. It's an open market space that you can achieve any dream that you want. Look at Lasisi Elenu. Look at Aroli. Look at Tunde Ednot. Tunde Ednot has built a page and has more followers than people who are even successful artists because of his style of blogging. It's not blogging. It's reposting very interesting things that will get...
It's called microblogging.
I think he doesn't have to agree.
Yeah, so he calls himself an entertainer. Yeah, he said, no, they shouldn't call him a blogger, he's an entertainer, because he's like a DJ. He's mixing this and mixing that and mixing this and mixing that. And so you can't peg him down to one spot. So a DJ plays Calypso, Makossa, R&B, High Life, and all of that stuff, just to entertain you. So he brings stories from different places and puts them on that page to get comments and elicit interest. So what is happening on social media now is misplaced priorities for a lot of people. The ones that know how to use it well are getting away and making a lot of money from achieving their purpose. Let's just say achieving their purpose, because some may not just be about money. Some are just awareness, some are creating awareness for sickle cell, some are creating. So you could use social media for anything at all. That said, it is that some have also learned how to monetize it. Some have learned how to use it to promote their businesses. Some even have a lot more awareness than they would have had if they placed adverts on traditional media. So yes, sure. I think people need to use it properly.
Still
okay,
on social.
let's just quickly go for a break,
Okay.
and then when we come back, Ife, you can ask your question.
All right.
So we're going to go for a quick break, but it will be a continuing question and answer session with popular comedian AliBaba. That's when Tea Time on Plus TV Africa returns. It's where the big stories live. This is Plus TV Africa.
When I did it, I was full on, hands-on on the whole project.
So how did you deal with it? All of that negativity?
I got depressed, obviously. Duh. Haven't you heard?
I've got 2 of the hottest topics currently trending on social media.
If you've seen the word Senate trending on Twitter, that's because the Nigerian police force has gone Trump style.
I probably haven't shared this with anyone, but I reckon I get about like 100 people asking for help a day. That's a fact. I can prove that.
Welcome back. It's still Tea Time right here on Plus TV Africa, and we're swiftly moving on with our conversation with the godfather of comedy in Nigeria, AliBaba. So before the break, Ife, you were going to ask.
So I would really like to know your take.
Take it easy on me, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'd really like to know your take on social media comedians. You mentioned the likes of Lasisi
Okay.
Elenu. Do you think they are watering down your craft, what you built for over 30 years?
No, they're not. They're actually taking it to the next level. This is it. It's that comedy has a different, has different levels of, have different perspectives. So the different dynamics to it. You have the comedian who is a cartoonist. You have the comedian who is a humorist. You have the comedian who is a humorist who writes. And then you have a comedian who is an actor who plays funny roles, like you have Mr. Bean, like you have Benny Hill, and you have Frank Spencer. You have that kind of comedian. And then you have the comedian who does, like I mentioned, the cartoons and all of that. Then you have like a slapstick comedian, like your Jim Carrey, who makes faces, and then you have the clowns as well, who is also a comedian in his own right, all right? And then you have a stand-up comedian, all right? Now you're having a case where you have ranters, like you have hecklers. Hecklers are comedians as well, but they are the back streets of comedy. So when a comedian is performing on stage, the heckler kicks in. I started as a heckler, all right, in Ekpoma at the time. And so all of this is welcome. It depends on how you're practicing. It's like somebody say, oh, a chemical engineer is not an engineer because an electrical engineer is a mechanical engineer is really an engineer. So there are different exploitation and explanations to this. It's that the social media comedians have their role to play. They are entertaining using that platform. You cannot do it anywhere else. So your skits and your rants and the way you put your videos out and the things you say online can elicit humor, which is the golden point to achieve. If you can make people laugh, you're a comedian. Whatever platform you use, whether it's slapstick, whether it's a cartoon, whether it's writing, or it's a comedian, you just have a different means of expressing it. All right. So yes, they're all comedians. They may not be like stand-up comedians. Okay, like when I came on the scene, a lot of people say, "Oh, AliBaba is not the first comedian. There were comedians on TV and comedians." And somebody says, "But he took stand-up comedy to where it is now." So somebody may also have asked somebody like Baba Salah then, do you think what AliBaba is doing is stand-up comedy?
Sure.
It's comedy.
Sure. Yeah.
And Baba Salah would have said stand-up comedy. It's different from what I was doing. But it's comedy all the same. Kevin Hart is different from a comedian who, for instance, is different from someone who doesn't do live stand-up comedy. So live stand-up comedy is you in front of the mic entertaining. So it's you against the world. But for your television, you can shoot and they say, okay, no, take it again. You do another one, they say, but spontaneity is the soul of a stand-up comedian. So it's different, but it's okay. So I don't begrudge any of them. I actually admire what they're doing in their space. It's like if somebody is a cartoonist, another person is a sculptor, another person does some different modes of or methods of artwork. You still consider it art, whether he's using plastic or you're using cement, another person is using mud, it's still the same art,
All right, so you have achieved so much over the years. If you could erase or edit any part of your career, what would it be?
It would be that I would have gotten a TV station as far back as 2004-5. Because I had the opportunity, because then I wasn't thinking straight. And Baba asked me, this comedy thing, you get a TV station. And I said, okay, sir. And he said, go and apply, tell Tom Adaba, they will give you the license. I said, this. But then, I was making so much money from stand-up comedy. It didn't click that I should have gotten the license first and used it whether for comedy or anything else.
Okay.
So that was one mistake that I made.
So the reason why I asked this question is not even the time when you were labeled a gigolo for your marriage to your ex-wife, Patricia Leon.
No. Let me tell you, like, you know why I'm saying this? It's because a lot of people did not know how much money we were making at the time. So it was okay to say you're gigolo. My wife at the time was working at MultiChoice. And this is something that I don't like to talk about anymore, but because you brought it up. Her salary was 50K a month. I was earning 100K per show. So, what am I jiggling for? Okay, now, it is because people do not know, and they did not know. A lot of people used to say, oh, well, he doesn't have money. And then, you now have stand-up comedians that started living life like money was going out of fashion. They didn't know that I was coded. But as soon as people started knowing how much we're making, my first millions was in 1995 from Satin Brown.
Wow.
1.6 million. There were many artists that had not smelled 500,000 at a time. So I was making that much money. But people did not know. But only the people who engaged your services, because comedy, stand-up comedy was new. People didn't know. Until someone now wants to pay you, that's when they find out, oh, it's really this expensive. It's like, let's say somebody was a makeup artist and was dating another person, and then you'd be like, bring it home quickly. Look at AY, his wife. Look at TA. Look at Basket Mount. Look at that. You know the kind of money those boys are making. So if they had married, if they had married somebody older than them, somebody would have thought they married the person for money, because they don't know how much the guy is making. So if I started the trend, how much do you think I make? Let me ask you. You asked me the question. How much do you think I charge per show?
3 million.
That's with a discount.
He said that's with a discount.
That's with a discount.
That's with a discount for a 3-hour job.
Wow.
So sometimes people don't know, and they'll be like, no, how much do you... But I could do 2-3 events in a month. Some months I could do just one. But it's still much more than what somebody sits for 30 days. Sure. If you earn 3 million naira in an organization, you are either a GM or an executive director, anywhere in the world. If you convert it to dollars, it's still a lot of money.
True. Okay, I want to ask about, take you back in time, because now you've painted, a very successful, life and everything. But I know that at one point in time, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that, you used to be a bus driver or bus conductor or something of the sort.
The bus conductor and all of that was before Ekpoma, and after I started doing stand-up comedy, it was not necessary.
Yeah, but the revelation didn't come until much later, so people are aware of that at the time.
The thing is, that's the thing I'm saying. A lot of people did not quite understand where I was coming from, which was what my dad's fears were. My dad's fear was, how can you not become a lawyer and you say you want to become a comedian? It's just like somebody saying now that he wants to become a makeup artist. If you said that in 1981, 82, your father or parents would disown you.
Sure.
Because, or you say you want to become a red carpet host. I want to become a hype man. They will first be like, hype what? Okay, but now, if you say you want to be an OAP, there's some pride in it because there's value addition and economic benefits. Same thing with stand-up comedy. When I told my dad that I wanted to become a comedian, he was like, are you well? Are you... And we had our classes, and for about like 12 years, we did not speak. So, to your question, it is not that that people do not know that we deserve to be respected and well. But I think it's appreciation. As the appreciation grows, a lot of things change. Back in the days, if you say you want to become a footballer, in fact, there are children now who say they want to become footballers, their parents are encouraging them. Because back then, how many engineers earn £80,000 a week, like Boba? How many engineers in this Nigeria, or lawyers, or doctors? All right? And somebody gets paid that every week, whether he plays or not. That's not even endorsement money. So you can see that occupational change and occupational evolution has led to where people now begin to realize that there are jobs that earn a lot more than your traditional architecture, accountancy, medical, and the rest of it.
Okay, Elsie, last question.
3 questions, but I'll break it into 2.
Yeah, you can put all of that together.
So one is, you have a radio station on jazz music.
Yes, please.
What is your vision for that platform, and why would you think a strictly jazz platform work in Nigeria? That's one. Secondly, on your Instagram page, you have I block private accounts.
Oh, well.
Why and how did you come to that decision?
Okay.
And then finally, the general election is coming, and we want to know your advice to the youth and everyone going to be involved in that election.
Okay. Right.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. 30 seconds. Any justice you can do to have 3 questions.
I block private accounts because if you come into a public space, I'm going to be commenting on people's conversation. You can't keep yourself private.
Okay.
People need to know you. You can make a comment and I look at it and I'm like, what kind of comment is it? Let me see who made it. If I get there, I see you're a lawyer, you're a banker, and you made a point. I look through your page, I say, okay, you're justified. I'll take your comment as being critical, but on the positive side. But if I look at your page and I see that you're nobody, or when I say nobody, you don't have consequence. There's nothing I can go to and milk from you to say, okay, this guy has a point. I get there, you don't even have a face. You put quotes and all those things in place, and your DP is a bird flying from one ocean or something like that. I block you. But then if I can't even assess that, then I block you.
Okay.
Because you can't take part in a conversation. It's like people are throwing money into this, and you are keeping your money and watching people spend theirs, and then when they buy the drinks, you do now drink as well, but you don't want to. No. That's all. And then regarding politics, I think everyone should get their voters card and their PVC. It's too late now, but it's important so that you can play a role. Though I believe that it's not ripe yet for the youth, and this next election, we just need to now choose between 2 devils. And say, okay, we'll go with Atiku or go with him. But I would say, every time any new person comes in, it takes 2 years of restructuring before you take off. It must take 2 years because there are a lot of things that have been done that are not properly done that need to be tidied up. And you can't just jump in and start spending. you have to now aggregate every cost that has been spent, every money that has been spent on whatever, and then know why this was done, who has been paid, who has not been paid, who's been paid and didn't do anything. Because that's the same thing that is happening everywhere. You find a governor come in, and the past governor has given somebody 250 million to fix a road. The guy spends 50, keeps 200. And then the new government comes in, and the new government begins to award other contracts, and that guy is out of the view. So a lot of that will happen. The third question you asked was...
the jazz platform.
Okay, now, Eskizoma Radio, we want to give jazz musicians a platform. This is what killed reggae music.
Okay.
Everybody started playing contemporary music. What's it called? Commercial music. And so, if it's not Davido, it's Whiskey, if it's not that. So, when somebody like Timi Dakolo releases a song, or what was this boy that plays the guitar? He wears big glasses.
Bears.
Okay,
Bears.
okay.
Yeah. Bears releases a song. It doesn't get so much airplay because it's not what the children want to listen to. So Lagbaja releases a song, a few people listen to it. Then somebody releases Tiko Tiko Tiko, like what's that boy's name that not Victor, there was one guy, Vico.
Okay.
That was singing crap. And he had so much following, people were listening to it. Then they banged it there or whatever. And you can now, bang it there was getting more airplay for his crap than the Bears. So I thought if you have a radio station that gives these people airtime, so people who are music lovers and enthusiasts could key into that and say, let me listen to it. Just like when you feel like you don't watch horror movies. Like in Nigeria now, the movies that sell the most are comedy movies. If anybody now decides to do horror movies to appeal to a particular class of people, people might find this awkward. But you're appealing to a market. Just like ashoke may not be your thing, but there are people who like to wear ashoke. So if you go to like a shopping mall in ShopRite, and you see suits, t-shirts, and then you're walking past and you see ashoke, you'll be like, oh wow, they're here. And so it's special. So it's specialized broadcasting, and that's why I did that.
Okay. Okay, I was because you're very vocal and very transparent. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. Am I correct?
It's for people to say.
Of course, we all know it.
Yeah, but the thing is, you know, it's very surprising sometimes, you know, because in this modern day and age, some people clam up, some people hold back, and some people are not as transparent as you, especially like in terms of even revealing how much they earn. Some people don't even want to tell you, you know. So
I pay my tax. My last tax was 500K, and I paid my tax every year. I started paying tax from 2005. And that 2005, when I started paying tax, I paid a backlog of 2003 to 2005. And I've continued to, and I have my certificates.
Okay.
So when I hear that people who make governors, billionaires, paying 500, I'm like, maybe I'm overpaying tax. All right? So truly it is that, by the way, I think something that I need to say is we have people who do not know that their success is something that should make other people successful. So, like you said, people clamp up. You make a lot of money and all of a sudden, and you don't want to share, you don't want to reveal secrets, you don't want to. If somebody calls me for an event, I say, well, so I can't take that amount, it's too small. But if you need somebody for that, listen, call this guy and call that guy. And you call that guy. Some people, because they're not doing the event, the Solomonic thing comes in. If it's not me, let's kill it. So you have that, and it's bad for business. Yeah, really bad for business. So I'm not the type that holds, if you see the kind of, I share a lot of ideas. My wife complains that you put ideas out too much. I write copies for advertising agencies. They pay me. You see the copy and go, oh, that advert is beautiful. And I'll be like, okay. It's my work. But
exactly.
And you've collected because
yeah.
of non-disclosure. I create a lot of TV programs.
Okay.
And when I create the programs, they go on air, people appreciate it. And I'm like, wow, great job.
Okay.
In August, you called out the government about a project which you wanted to embark on.
Oh, yes, that did.
The islands opposite the Third Mainland Bridge that you wanted to turn to a recreational center. Yes. So tell us about that.
Well,
because you said they frustrated your efforts.
It wasn't like they frustrated me. It didn't happen. Let's not use the word frustrated. It didn't happen. I wasn't frustrated, right? I thought that if you're driving on that Third Mainland, the whole expanse of water to your right, if you're going towards Oroshoki, the whole of that expanse of water, in a state that is called the aquatic splendor, has no value addition. And if you go to Venice, that whole place will be looked at like luxury estates. All right? So I thought, okay, let's create something on the islands. There were about like 3 of the islands at the time. First one disappeared, the second one disappeared, and then I went to the third one, and I went to inspect it actually, and sent reports to the government at the time. But it didn't take flight, and then it disappeared. So every time I look back, I am like, it is because they make money from other sources, and so it's okay. Because I don't see why you shouldn't have taken up that kind of, you provide jobs. Low-hanging fruit are the reasons our government don't invest in any of all those kind of things. And so that was why I called
it. All right, you know what? Time for a break. When we return, our studio guest, stand-up comedian AliBaba, will be telling us more. We're getting ready for the final segment on the show, and we have a few more questions, so don't go anywhere else. We'll be right back.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am.
If you no talk, dem go beat you.
Na 2,500 they pay.
Welcome back. You're watching Tea Time right here on Plus TV Africa, and if you're just joining us, we're talking to stand-up comedian AliBaba. Now, before Ife asks you his next question, I have to say that before the show ends, we would like for you to tell us a joke. But before we wrap up, Ife would.
Okay, should we wrap up the joke?
No. Your question before we get a joke out of him.
Okay. In as much as you try to stay away from politics, but a lot of us still see you as a political advocate. So if you could, right now, you have the platform to address one person in power, who would it be and what would you say to the person?
If I were to address one person in power, it will still be Buhari. It will be that fix the port, fix the railway, and continue to develop agric, and will be good. Power is important as well, because I think we've been dancing around the issues. Power is the #1 issue to be dealt with. And then you now have the ports. The ports create the kind of trickle-down economy effect that the ports have. You can't imagine it. I tell people, I said, one of the wrongest things that any government has done is the stadium in Akwa Ibom, because the stadium won't generate jobs.
Okay.
But if you use the money for the stadium and build the port, it will generate a lot more jobs, because the stadium now is a one-off. When the Super Eagles want to play a match, you go there and play the match.
Okay, so we're running out of time. If you want to do that joke before we wrap up.
Oh, no, you're not getting any joke, because if you had brought Anthony Joshua here, would you ask for a point for it? If I would have offered, it's something I really don't like. Say, oh, you're a comedian, no, come on the show.
Well,
and
just made laugh, so
no.
We ran the check of 5 million naira. With discounts.
All right, thanks for having me, really. Thank you.
Okay, I have one last question.
Oh, yeah, yes,
have a joke.
We're out of time, Elsie. We've got
Okay.
We're out of time. Unfortunately, that's where we're going to have to wrap it up. Join us later this afternoon for another exciting episode of the program. Until then, a big thank you to my co-anchors, Ife and Elsie. I also have to thank the all-inclusive and entire production team, not forgetting our stylist, Ketsi of Kudi's Empire, and last but not certainly least, our studio guest, famous Nigerian comedian AliBaba. Thank you very much indeed for coming. I'm Tokumbo Taiwo saying thanks for watching, and from all of us here, have yourself a good morning.